All right, this is Dumb Ghost Hunter podcast part 2 with Chris Fleming, and as we were talking about Billy the Kid and Elvis and all the investigations that Chris has done over the course of his career, we have a question on Twitter from Jacket97 asking you, Chris, all the places you have investigated in your career, what was the coolest place you've ever done?
Jeez, there's so many, I wouldn't be able to leave any out because every one of them had a different place, a different experience. I mean, like I said, doing Billy the Kid and going to some of those locations. I mean, Alcatraz was incredible. Going into the cell block and getting some of those EVPs was remarkable. The only problem was that I didn't realize how good those EVPs were until I analyzed them days later, and I wasn't even there anymore. That was the only thing. I think probably the coolest thing I have to say was, beside all the famous locations I went to, which some of them were just so remarkable, it's insane. Like Stanley Hotel in Queen Mary have always been like the best. But actually, in 2009, January 2009, going back to the house I grew up in, that was the coolest. And the reason being is I hadn't been there since we moved out in 1990, but I had grown up there, obviously, and had all these experiences, and I'd never gone back. I mean, I had that big time period to think about it and analyze it and wonder if they're still there, if what's going on, why did they do this, why did they do that. Well, I got to go back for about an hour into that house because it was for sale, and the owners that bought it from us had moved out. They were out for like 6 months, and the house was vacant. But the real estate agent, not knowing that I used to live there, I didn't tell her. I had a recorder, and I had a camera. I said, can I take pictures and I'm just going to talk about the house and record? And she said, oh yeah, go ahead. So she sat in the kitchen while I just walked around the whole house. My house that I grew up in. And the EVPs I got were just mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling, especially the one in the basement, which really hit home. I went into the basement, and I was always afraid of that back basement. And talking to a lot of my friends growing up, they were always afraid of that back part of the basement. They said it always creeped them out, obviously because a lot of the spirits hid back there. But I went back there, and I said, I know you're back here. And when I was a child, I knew you were back here, but I'm not a child anymore. I said, who's here? And I got an A-grade EVP of a man saying, so many. And Steve, you may remember me playing that at some of my lectures.
Yep.
And to hear so many years later, the house I grew up in that was haunted, to have its spirit talk to me, after over 20 years, 30 years, and to tell me, we're all still here, and there's so many ghosts here. For me, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool, but then part of me felt responsible, because, we were doing a Ouija board a lot, so I began to realize and learn that the Ouija board attracted a lot of these spirits there, and a lot of them, I guess, somehow, some way got stuck there, weren't able to leave, so I kind of felt responsible for that. But to me, that was the coolest thing, to get some of these EVPs. It's like they said, Chris is here, this is Chris's room, and they said, we know why you're psychic, was one of the EVPs. So to hear all these EVPs, and even one of them was so cool. I went into the bathroom, and I used to hide in the bathroom when I was a kid. And I used to lock it and get really emotional in the bathroom and this and that. And plus I would leave the bathroom light on at night to keep the ghosts away. I went in the bathroom, I recorded, and I got this recording saying, Chris was spoiled as a child. And I never really thought about it, but I was very spoiled. My mom spoiled the heck out of me. But I was kind of a brat. With good reason. I mean, with these things going on, people didn't believe me. But I went and asked my father when because he was in the hospital, and I actually got a documentation. I'm like, Dad, was I a brat growing up? And he's like, well, yeah, spoiled. And I go, what about the bathroom? He's like, well, you used to lock yourself in the bathroom because of the ghosts. And I'm like, oh my God, and here I am. I got this EVP of them saying that. That was kind of cool.
Totally cool. And Steve has a question now for you from one person on Twitter.
No, basically, I wanted to talk about the sleep paralysis because I don't know if you remember, we talked about it, and I remember one night I just woke up from it and tweeted you to let you know, and you told me to not to let go, but basically to be more open to it, to the experience while living it, instead of freaking out,
Right.
So I wanted to know, what's your thoughts on this?
Two of my opinions on this, or two theories on this, I wouldn't even call them theories, I believe it because I've experienced it, is, psychology tends to throw everything into a thing, and it's ridiculous, the sleep paralysis that they claim, you see creatures and this and that, it's all part of your imagination, and sleep paralysis. It's the biggest scapegoat I've ever heard. I mean, some of these skeptics should be slapped in the back of their heads. It's because it's so disrespectful, not only to our soul and spirit, but it's disrespectful to the trauma and the emotion that goes through some of us that go through this. Let me explain. The sleep paralysis, like when I was a child, there's twice that I was completely paralyzed. I could not move. But let me explain something. I had gotten up, went to the bathroom, came back in the room, and as I laid down, I heard a voice out the window saying, "Chris, get out of there." It came from out of the window, like from outside. And I won't look out the window, and I'm freaked out, and I lay down. As soon as I lay down, boom, I can't move. Completely frozen. And I'm feeling this heavy breathing. It wasn't my breathing. It wasn't some dream. I was just up going to the bathroom. I just laid down. And as I'm laying there, I start levitating off the bed because I feel the bed go away, and I'm like hovering, and I feel my pajamas start to sag. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm off the bed, but I can't move. I'm like stiff as a board, right? Like that game they used to play. Completely stiff.
My God.
And as I'm hovering there, I feel this evil presence, and you feel this embodying evil presence. And trust me, I've felt this presence when I've seen a demon standing in front of me, when I've seen a dark cloud, something like that. I don't need to be laying in bed with my eyes closed. I know that feeling has nothing to do with sleep paralysis. So I started praying because I was Catholic school. I started saying, Jesus, please, Jesus, please save me, please protect me. And then boom, it's gone, and I'm back down on the bed. That was one time. It happened another time, almost the same thing, but I don't think I levitated. Well, that sleep paralysis, also when I was doing Dead Famous, we were doing an episode on James Dean. We went to Minter's Field, where he used to race cars, plus the military used to do missions there, and they crashed a helicopter, and all these soldiers were killed. We were back at the hotel we were staying at, and I went to sleep. And then I was tossing and turning and couldn't move. All of a sudden I felt this tingling in my feet. And it was like static electricity, and then it started moving up my feet to my ankles, to my shins, to my knees. And then and when it happened, it passed by that, I could no longer move my feet. But I could move my hands, my arms, and everything else. Slowly it's going up to my knees, and it's going up to my quads, and it's going up to my waist, and it starts going to my stomach. I open up my eyes, and I'm realizing I can move my chest and arms, but I'm seeing this blue mist, this vaporous mist start to manifest right next to beside my bed.
My God.
And this thing starts to grow and grow and grow, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, there's some ghost or spirit that's manifesting next to me. And I go and I throw my hand out and I say, get the F out of here, and it disappears, and all of a sudden I can move my legs. Excuse me, that's sleep paralysis, yet I saw something visually and I was awake. For a while I thought, okay, it's a spirit that appeared and it was absorbing my energy so it could manifest, and that's what it was. But I kind of changed my mind on that, and here's why. First, let me explain. I kind of believe that it was actually my soul and spirit leaving my body, and it was beginning to manifest right beside my bed. Because it was so connected. The reason why I've turned to believing that is because in the last few years I've had out-of-body experiences. And why I've been having out-of-body experiences the past couple of years, I have no idea. But they've been so dramatic, so detailed, and some of them have been almost like a divine intervention. I'd ask a question, and then the next night I would have this out-of-body experience somewhere else, and something would be shown to me or explained to me. But this was about a year and a half ago. I open up my eyes, and I'm floating above my body. And I'm looking at myself in my bed, the house I live in right now, looking at myself. And then all of a sudden, it's the creepiest thing, man. I'm telling you, it's so creepy. Myself, my physical body opens up its eyes and looks right at me. Can I tell you how creepy that is when your body opens up its eyes and you're not in your body? Well, my body begins to start to scream, but it can't because there's no air in it, and I'm not in it. I go to scream, my spirit and soul, and I can't breathe. I can't breathe because I'm trying to breathe thinking that I'm still connected to a physical body, and because I'm not, and my soul's not in my body controlling in harmony the breathing, I'm out of oxygen. There's no oxygen going in me. I shoot back into my body. I sit up quick as possible, gasping for like, as if something was suffocating me. Okay. okay? Like I couldn't breathe and I was suffocating, like I was frozen. And then I sat up and I'm like, oh my God. I woke up just before my soul and spirit was back in my body. Yet I couldn't move. My body could not move, yet my soul could. But I panicked because I couldn't breathe and I couldn't move. And it was a horrible feeling. It was like being drowned or being suffocated. There was sleep paralysis.
My goodness.
But guess what? It's not sleep paralysis that psychology tries to label it. It was my soul and spirit out of the body. So after that, I started having these other experiences where I started realizing, like one time I was on an airplane. I think I told you this, Steve. I was traveling to go to a convention, and I fell asleep in the airplane. And all of a sudden, I open up my eyes, and I slip out of the plane, and I'm behind the plane. And I see the plane way in front of me, and I'm in these clouds, and I go and I scream. Because I'm thinking I'm going to fall out of the plane. I'm now in the air, watching the plane go by, thinking, oh my God, the plane took off without me. And then I realize I'm floating in midair in the sky. And I go to scream because I think I'm going to fall to my death. And all of a sudden I shoot back into my body and I jump up and I scream, and the poor guy next to me freaks out because I'm screaming. And
my God.
And I realized once again, those times when you doze off and your body jumps and you wake up because your body jerks. Now obviously there's some type of neuro explanation for that. But I believe that sometimes that's actually the soul's leaving the body and it gets pushed right back in, or it gets jerked right back into your body, and that's where it's like, whoa, you jump up or whatever. I believe that sleep paralysis, in some cases, tends to be the soul and spirit actually leaving the body. And sometimes we wake up or we're not connected to the body to move it, so we can't move at all, and we're freaking out because our consciousness is not quite in the body yet, but the body's kind of starting to come awake, but we can't move because the soul and spirit's not back in the body.
My goodness, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, we have Bill Murphy joining us right now, Chris. I know you're going to be meeting him at the Aerial Phenomena event in a few weeks.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing.
It's amazing. And Bill, I respect Bill a lot. I've had him on my podcast before. And Bill, actually talking about dreaming and stuff like that, he's involved with the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine, and he has a project about lucid dreams. And can you tell me more about, lucid dreams? I know that it's not the same thing as sleep paralysis, but you wake up and you remember everything that happened during your dreams.
Yep. I would say, I've had experiences regarding that, but if you want to talk to somebody that's been doing research scientifically, obviously Bill Murphy is the person you want to talk to. I give credit where credit's due, and he's doing a lot of research and work in that field right now, so kudos to him. But for me, and this goes back to, I just had this conversation over the weekend. I was having nightmares as a child. Demons would, not only would they attack me in my room and I'd see them, but they'd also attack me in my dreams. And I'd have these horrific, terrifying dreams. And I'd wake up sometimes with scratches on me and this and that. So I knew that they can get into our dream state and affect us. And I just didn't know how to protect myself because I would get so scared. And the biggest thing was overcoming that fear. I had this cross I would put beside the bed with Jesus on it. And it was I forget the type of cross it's called. It always eludes me because I never knew what the name of it was growing up. But in the dream, there's this demon's trying to get me, and all of a sudden Jesus comes off the cross and pisses on me. And I woke up crying and devastated. How could Jesus do that to me? I'm an altar boy. I go to church all the time, this and that. I prayed to him. How could he do? My mom's like, well, that's the devil messing with you. And I was like, well, why would the devil allow that? Well, God was allowing that to happen because he wanted me to realize that, to be strong. That's obviously what it was. But what began happening is I tried to learn how to control my dreams at such a young age, because I would have this standoff. It would happen periodically where this man it would be complete darkness, and I knew I was somewhere and that this was real. And this man would walk towards me, this sharp-dressed man, and he would talk to me, and he would say he wants me and this and that. It was the devil, is what it was. And after a couple times, him saying certain things, I realized it was him, and then he would turn into the devil, and he would make all these profane marks at me, and then he would attack me and tear me up, and I feel like I'd be torn apart, and I'd wake up screaming and crying, and I'd be in pain and all this. Well, then he would pretend to be my mom, pretend to be my sister, and he would lie to me and try to coerce me and say, give this to me, give that to me, when I'd say, no. I said, why do you do this? He goes, well, I want your soul. I'm like, why? Why would you even care, And my mom bought me this sword. She says, you can bring this sword in. The next thing I was bringing this sword into my dreams, And I bring the sword in my dreams, and I'm like, go ahead, I'll fight you, And he would come at me, and I'd flail the sword at him, and he would cut off my arm. So I'd pick up the sword with the other arm, and I'd try to fight, and he'd cut off that arm next, and he'd cut off my arms and legs, and, I'd wake up in terror, and I'd have the dream again, and I got so fed up of being afraid. I got tired of it, not being able to sleep, and This was probably happening around 6th grade because I almost failed 6th grade because I was falling asleep in class because I wasn't getting sleep at night. I just said, fine, go ahead, cut off my arms, cut off my legs, do whatever you want to my body. You can never touch my spirit and soul and how much I love God and what my faith is for God. And all of a sudden he screamed, and just boom, he like exploded and he was gone. And I never had the dream again. And I realized, God, what was it? It wasn't until years later that I started having these dreams again, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. And started having these dreams where they would come after me, these demons and stuff. And it wasn't the devil, but I haven't seen him yet again in a dream. But it would be these demons. And I learned how to pull myself out of the dream. And I said, you know what? I can't really beat them in the dreams because they understand how it works more than I do because they're in the spiritual form and the dimensional form. So I'd say, you know what? I'm not even going to waste my time, be afraid or anything like that, and waste my energy. And I'd pull myself right out of the dream. And I knew by doing that, I just would always avoid the situation. So I've gotten good at that. But then I started having, astral travels, and I say astral travels, which I really never believed in. I thought people were crazy when they talked about it. It was kind of disrespectful. I'm thinking that until it happens to yourself and you experience it. Exactly. But I started having travels where I would go somewhere and I would meet people on a different plane and we would talk and I would go to heaven and I would see things. And then I started remembering as a child I had these things and that's what it was. It wasn't dreams or this and that because I still remember in detail those travels. So I wouldn't say I got good at doing it. I'm far from perfecting it. But I know when I'm doing it. And I know when I'll look at my hands and I realize, wow, this is my soul, my spirit. And I run with it. I just go play. I have fun and I just go do things. And I haven't had one in a while. I think it's been about 6 months or so. I'm looking forward to doing it again or remembering it because I think we all do it. We just don't remember it. And I think that's where we get into the lucid state is when we can remember these things. It's possible to get to that state where you can remember it. Some things you're not meant to, and I think maybe that's some of the research that Bill's working on. But you can control your dreams. And sometimes when you're forced into these bad situations or nightmares in the dreams, you can get out of it. And I've learned how to do that. And I think that is really, really cool.
To learn to control your dream, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And, Chris, I have a question from Angie Mary on Twitter. It's actually my favorite case of all time, the Amityville murders. And from your perspective, from all your years of experience on the field, she's asking you, what do you think happened, with the Amityville murders? Do you think that Ronald DeFeo Jr. was possessed? Or what is your take? If you had a chance to go investigate, how would you approach this investigation?
Well, how I would approach that investigation is that I would do it with Christopher Quarantino,
Oh, my God.
Grew up in that house. I would not just go out there and do it. I mean, I've had the pleasure of getting to know him and hang out with him, and I consider him a friend. He would be the first person I would go to, because he's spoken out about it. He lived it. He was there. He knows a lot that went on. I think a lot of it's Hollywood. A lot of it's fake or not told in the way it should have been told. So I would go to Christopher first and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to investigate this. Tell me what I need to know, or go with me. I would probably have him go with me. But I am not as familiar with the case as other people are. It's not a case that I wanted to get into or study. I had other things going on in my house, and that what went on in my house growing up pretty much has consumed me. And I've spoken publicly about some of them. I just haven't, released it to the public yet of everything that's gone on yet because it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to write this book, but it's hard. And it's just hard because it's bringing up things from the past. It's bringing up emotions. It's bringing up, I don't know. Part of me just doesn't want to go there, but part of me does. So, who knows?
And we have a question on Twitter from Angie asking you, how do you react to, the skeptics? Because in the field, paranormal or medium or whatever, of course, we're going to have skeptics. And how do you react to those who really are like, oh, no, I don't believe in this?
Well, I'm human and I get a short fuse at times because I'm not going to have someone tell me that it didn't happen to me, I'm making it up or anything else. To me, that is just such disrespectful. There's a part of me just wants to punch him in the face, and I'll just say that. I can hold back what you want to say, but it's the truth.
It's true.
The reason why I say that is because, there was times growing up where I was attacked by kids because of this. Made fun of, embarrassed in front of other students, called names. I'll never forget, I had like 13 kids in grade school surrounding me, all kicking me and pushing me and everything. and because of stuff that was going on, making fun of me. And I remember I just flailed out and went after all of them, started punching them and kicking them and, fighting all of them, and they all ran away. They didn't expect me to do that. But there's a lot of bent-up anger still in me from that, from people not getting it, not believing. But, as time went on, a lot of those friends had experiences with me and become some of my best friends still today, and we still talk to each other about it. So things changed. I think it's just giving people a chance. What I realized was they don't understand. They're afraid of it. They'll make fun of it. It goes against what their beliefs are. They're happy living into the system, and some of them are just, terrified of it, or they just don't believe it, and they think that you must be lying, because if they don't believe it's true, then it must be not true. And that's just the stupidest thing to think, because we look at, there's so much to this universe, and the universe is expanding. Science has proved that. It's just not one big box we all live in. It's constantly expanding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's so much more to it that we don't understand. 95% is dark matter, which we don't understand. And a friend of mine was saying, she believes that 95% is consciousness. I think, oh my God, that's amazing. They don't know what that 95% is, but she's saying, well, it's consciousness. Because if they're saying, the universe is a hologram, and it's not reality, it's all like a video game that's being created, what's creating it? She goes, well, 95%, that dark matter is the consciousness that's creating it. And I'm like, that is like the coolest theory I've ever heard. And it makes sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it makes sense because
in dealing with skeptics, I've dealt with a couple times with skeptics, and I had one that, brought something up at a convention once, and it was just so disrespectful, and we got in this big debate and argument over it. But I learned from that. I've had skeptics that, some of the colleges, they'll speak up, and they'll get real nasty, and I don't, of course, in front of all the students, I don't get nasty, and I say to them, obviously, I could disprove everything you've talked about, those recordings, those photographs, and this and that, and I'm like, really? You can do it? Yes, okay, then I want to see you do it. Well, and they back away from that, but what I do is I say, why don't you join me on the ghost hunt tonight? And I will show you exactly how I get these EVPs, and you can tell me whether I'm faking it or not. And then they come on the ghost hunt when they get to hear stuff coming through the spirit box, and they hear the EVP recordings, because I'll, ask a couple questions, play it right back, and there's an EVP. Their mouths are wide open.
Of course.
Because what they were talking from was not from study or this or that. It was talking from emotion, a belief.
Yep.
This is the way they believe it. And usually some skeptics, you look at their childhood, and some things have gone on in their childhood with just they want to be heard. They want to be right on something because there's something they weren't right on or something didn't go right in their life. So they want to be right, and they'll do whatever it takes to make it right. And if they can't, then they feel it affects them emotionally and it becomes very personal. So I realized that you have to be sensitive to them. You have to understand that they have not seen a ghost, or they have not had multiple experiences. So they don't understand it. It does not fit into their consciousness, their paradigm. So you have to respect that their entire life has created their belief system at this very moment. And if you discredit them, or if you try to hurt them, or don't respect them, they take it personal where you're disrespecting their entire life. Because I tell you, that's how I take it. Someone rips me and says, I'm making this up. You're affecting my entire life because I've been feeling this and experiencing this my whole life. So I have to basically bite my tongue and respect them. There's two types of skeptics. There's the one that they legitimately want evidence.
Which is healthy too.
And they want evidence, and they want you to prove what you're saying.
Yep.
I understand that. That's coming from a standpoint of science. I respect those people.
And it's healthy, actually, too.
And then when they get the evidence, they're like, okay, well, that is something. That is, and some of them begin believing it. They begin realizing, wow, this stuff does exist, and some of them have become paranormal investigators because they're fascinated by it. But then you have the ones that they don't care if you have the evidence. They don't care if you're 100% right. They just want to mess you up and do whatever they can to make a fool out of you. Mm-hmm. But in actuality, they're the ones that are being fools because they're not looking at the whole picture, and they're not actually looking at what you're presenting.
And those who can do nothing about it.
And those are the type that don't waste your time because they want you to waste your time. They want to deter you away from doing what you're doing because then they win. And all they want to do is win. They want to mess you up.
Exactly.
Any way possible. And those are the type that I really feel sad for them. Because what is their purpose? Their purpose is just to criticize people, to try to catch people in whatever they can. Are they really contributing to science or skepticism? No, they're not at all. They're turning it into a joke. They're disrespecting skepticism. They're disrespecting the investigations and the science behind being skeptic and actually using science to prove things. And they're not using any science whatsoever. So those types of people, sometimes they're really easy to notice. I just don't waste my time with them. Have them removed or just ignore them. But then the other ones that they want to learn, I think that's so cool. It's awesome. It's like, oh my God, God bless you, It's like, you want evidence, you want to know, you want to see the science, so let's work together on this. You tell me how you look at things and this and that, and I'll do what I do, and you tell me what you think, because I'm going to learn from you as well. And that's cool.
That's awesome. And actually, what I'm going to say right now is documented on one of my videos at Gettysburg, investigating with Dustin Perry. When I said you were the best investigator I've investigated so far in my career, and I really mean it. And you act also the most emotional, but also the most how can I say, intense paranormal investigator that I've ever had the chance to investigate with. This is no joke. This is no, okay, somebody here. Why are you here? Like looking bored. No, this is not you, Chris. For those who've never seen you investigate, you're a passionate guy. You ask the question in a way that I would want to answer if I was a ghost. I would want to answer you because you seem to care passionately about what's on the other side. And I think that's the reason why you are so gifted and you have so many responses.
Well, I think, to let people know a little bit more, I remember at the beginning of the investigation, when we went to the Tilly Pierce house in Gettysburg, and what you're trying to explain to your listeners, and I'll add to that is, we get there and I introduce everybody and say, hi, I'm Chris, we're going to investigate, let's have fun, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I feel a ghost, a spirit, come right through the second floor above us, hovering right above me. And I look up, and I haven't even got my jacket off yet. I'm like, oh my God, there's a spirit that just entered the room from the ceiling upstairs and just came through. And so I reach for my recorder. I quickly get my recorder, and I asked a few questions, and we got a response right away.
Oh, straight off the bat. Yep. Yeah, you came out, I think it was like 30 seconds after you entered the house.
Yep. We got responses right away, clear A-grade EVPs, and the most touching was that we heard a child. And I said, child, do you want to talk to us? And she goes, I'm scared. And when we played it back, everybody heard it, and everybody's like, oh! And I said, okay, quiet, this is really important. I said, we need to present our intent so the child is not scared. So, we had a woman, a man, and a child. And I said, listen, we are here for research. Some of us here believe in life after death, that you actually exist. You were once in a physical body, now you're what we call a ghost or spirit, and you're still living here. We can't see you, but we can communicate with you with various means. We just want to communicate with you. We're honored. We will respect that this is your place. If you want us to leave, we'll leave. We won't hurt you. We won't disrupt you. We just want to speak to you for a little bit when we're here, and then we're going to leave. And is this okay? And we play it back and hear a man's voice say yes. And we're all like, whoa. I said, okay, what we've done, we just have asked permission from the spirits here. We explained to them our intent. Now let's start talking to them. And we had success, throughout the night. And it was remarkable. That's being respectful, but it's also because of my passion. When I heard the child go, oh my God, I'm scared. And, it was like, oh, I feel so bad that, we had to change our tune. We had to be more serious and respectful during that investigation.
Exactly. And that's the one thing, about that I learned from that is that when you go investigating, you're dealing with, spirits that could be from 20 years, like from 400 years ago. So when you go come near my green device, my K2 meter, they have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But when you're talking to them through the ghost box or just the EVP recorder, well then, it's easy for them to just talk to us directly. And, with the ghost box, it's my favorite tool. I use it in every investigation. Just this weekend, I was in Gloucester, Mass. with my teammates from Camp Paranormal, and I was just sitting by the ocean, actually near where there was a shipwreck. And I got, ghost box responses with, guys that, that died 250 years ago in Gloucester. It was clear as day, and how many people, and when I asked where you coming from, where did you come from? You had the courage, to cross the ocean, to come here, to settle here, and it said France. And then I started talking to them in French.
Well, you remember we also heard, they said there was a ghost there was a cat. Can we hear the cat?
Oh my God, I do.
We got the purring.
That's amazing. Yes, I have it on tape. If you want me to post it on YouTube, I was waiting for your approval, but I got the old investigation, on DVD, and I could post some of the best footage.
You want, yeah.
It's an amazing investigation, actually, because it was very. Actually, stayed there for about 4 hours.
Yeah, just don't post the channeling session. I never really feel too comfortable about that, especially when the guy's talking about how he dies and everything. I don't want to.
No, but I think the cat. It was in my. For me, it was the first time ever, and I didn't hear it at first, but then you said, "Listen, right there," and then we could hear it very clearly.
Yeah, it was like a purring type sound. It was amazing.
Incredible.
Did you also get Elvis that came through the spirit box? That he said something?
Yeah, Elvis and Michael Jackson also.
Oh, that was so cool.
That was a great, investigation. The kind of investigation.
Yeah, they just came through and said hi to us. I established why I was there. I established that I wanted to do non-local communication to talk to any spirits on the other side, and I asked for permission to do that, and then why we were doing it. That I'd done Dead Famous and talked to spirits before and all this, and I said, I haven't tried this. I said, I spoke to Michael Jackson before that we got recorded that's online, but I said, I haven't tried to communicate with Elvis. I said, can we have Elvis come in? And we heard his voice, and we heard Michael Jackson's voice, and it was just like, wow, could that happen every time I do it? Heck no. I think it was just one of those times at the right time and right place, and the fact that I never asked for both of them to come through at the same time, and they both did, that was extraordinary.
It was, and to me, I left Gettysburg, changed man, because just driving through the battlefield, I'm pretty sure you have done it, and you feel surrounded by all the soldiers. That's Gettysburg is a very special place. It really changed me.
Well, I've had an experience. I've seen a ghost driving back from my investigations with Michelle Nardone. Could even tell you that she's been there, and then Leah and some other people that were in the car last year. Experienced this, but I've had 3 experiences driving back where one, I saw this campfire out by the battlefield in between the bushes, the trees, the tree line, and I thought they were shooting some movie with, because there's a huge bonfire and there was soldiers walking around, and it just looked it was real. To me it was real. I'm like, oh wow, they must be shooting a movie, or maybe they're having a special overnight type thing out there. And then we're driving and I'm sitting there going, that just doesn't seem right. We didn't hear about that. So I told her, go back. Let's go check it out. So maybe we'll go over there. We go back and it's gone. Completely gone. I'm like, are you kidding me? That was 2 years ago. And then last year, heard the harmonicas and the music when we went back past this one monument at night. Just after we were talking about what we had heard about the fire, we smelled the fire, and then we heard this harmonica and music playing that sounded like something from 100 years ago. And then 2 nights later, I drove by with some other people telling them about the exact spot where this happened, and I screamed because instead of the monument being there, it was no longer there, was a soldier standing at the edge of the road on guard, and another guy in the car saw it too, and I screamed, and the woman driving, slammed on the brakes, almost, went off the road, and I told her, go back, we go back, and there's a monument, and the soldier's not there. It's like we saw a part of time where the soldier was just on guard while everybody else was sleeping. And there was no monument because back in that time period, the monument wasn't necessary. They hadn't died. They were still alive. So that was just creepy. And that was last year. So it's an amazing place, and I've heard other stories from people, but I never thought I'd see something until these things happened. You're seeing a history, an event from the past that's re-showing itself, playing it over like residual energy, but it looks so real that you would swear you're there in time. It's crazy.
Just like a movie.
Yeah, like a movie, exactly. But not a movie, but you're living it. You're there,
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's incredible. And Gettysburg, with the battle lasted 2 days and 50,000 soldiers dying. There's, feel that emotion. Just I remember with Steve, we're just driving through the battlefield, and I just got out of the car. Put my hand through the dirt, and I just started crying. I just felt the emotion. I felt surrounded by soldiers, and
we can't even imagine how many people suffered.
It's overwhelming.
Literally suffering. They're still suffering from some of them that are confused or lost or trapped there.
Exactly, because it was not a conventional war. It was not like an invading army. It was brothers against brothers. The North versus South. So it's not like it was totally different kind of war. And yeah, there must be a lot of trapped souls. We went to the Sachs Covered Bridge also. If you've been there, very active place. You can still, I asked a question on Ghostbox. Were you part of the Union? And he cut me off and said Army. Did you fight for General? And said Lee. Clear as day. And I'm like, oh my God.
Getting Twitter from a couple of people asking questions too. I'll ask real quickly. One woman asked, Jeanette says, I have a problem with why would kids be left in a scary place and not with Jesus? It's sad. I don't know. We've all been asking that question. Is why would ghost spirits still be stuck here and not cross over? I cannot answer that. I do have to say that some of them I do not believe are children. I believe they're ghosts or demons pretending to be children because we have confronted them with that and got verification to where they've ended up admitting it. So I believe we have to be very, very careful. We can't believe every single thing that we hear from the ghosts. But in the same sense is, who am I to say? I mean, like when we were at Gettysburg in the basement the one time, and the children, there's a skeptic right next to me. I heard through a spirit box. I said, "Are there any children that want to sing?" And we hear these children go, "We want to sing." Or I said, "I want to sing." And then these other children, we heard their voices. He's like, "Oh my God, they're talking to you." I said, "Yeah, I know." He was like, "No, they're really talking to you." I said, "Well, yeah, that's what I do." He's like, "But that's impossible." I said, "But you heard it." He's like, "I know. I don't know what to believe now." Because he heard it, but I can't explain, why are these children there? Maybe they're afraid. They've got this attachment. They're not allowed to go. I mean, there's other theories. I mean, we don't have enough time to talk about these theories. But just because they're still here, we can't get mad at God. We can't get mad at Jesus. There's a whole thing going on we don't fully understand, so we can't be too judgmental. But Bill Murphy asks, are there any theories on how these phantom sounds are formed? Well, you've got two different things. You've got electronic voice phenomenon, which you don't hear anything, you play back the recording, you get their voice. Then you have direct voice phenomenon, which means that you hear them. Like a disembodied voice is another term for it, where you hear a voice but there's nobody there. How do they do that? Honestly, we don't know. I know there's a couple engineers, I can't say anything yet, they're working on the theories of this. One in particular believes that he may be proving this in 3 months, telling us exactly how it's being done. But they're using an electromagnetic field to obviously affect frequencies or whatever so that we can hear it audibly. But then when you got electronic voice phenomenon, they're obviously either imprinting something through the electromagnetic field that the recorder's picking up, or they're using some type of telepathic information that is being recorded onto the recording. That's just all we know. Scientific, getting into it more, there's other people who are researching it, and I'm sure that within a couple months, I believe this individual will be coming forward with it, and hopefully that this does answer that question.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And Chris, before there's only 7 minutes left, and I want you to do a quick rundown of everything you have going right now. You go to you're going back to Gettysburg in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to Gettysburg April 10th through 13th, which I'm looking forward to. I believe I'm going to be talking about angels, my experiences with angels, and then I'm going to the UFO convention, which is in May, which is in Tampa Bay. There's still a few tickets left, but it's almost sold out, so I'll tell people definitely go. Bill Murphy's going to be there as well, and that's May 16th through 17th. It's the aerial phenomena in Tampa. I'm really looking forward to that. I've got another event I'm waiting to hear back. I believe it's in April that I'll be adding shortly. It's a tattoo convention. They've asked me to come. And then I may be speaking at a college or two in April as well. But I've got, I can't say much about this, but let's just say I'm filming in March. That's all I can say. I'm excited about it. Also, there's something, I made a guest appearance on something recently. I can't say anything about it, but it's huge. It's really exciting, and I'm glad I was asked to be a part of it. But I also have a documentary series I'm working on right now with another producer. He's an award-winning film producer, and we are working on this documentary, something that's very, very special, important to me, and I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with ghosts. It's something that I'm really excited about, so hopefully, we will get that sold and be in production this summer. So that's keeping me busy. I do have another project with the production company that I'm working on as a producer for a show. It doesn't have to do with ghosts. It's something else that has been a passion of mine as well. So hopefully, that gets a green light. The other thing is I've been slowly getting people together from my past to write my book. The book's going to be called Caught Between Heaven and Hell. And some of the stuff in the book's still happening. So it's going to be in there, but I'm going to start writing everything else that has not happened yet from my childhood up until the last 20 years in the book. There's just so much stuff. It's been difficult for me to find out where the starting point is because there's so much and there's things still going on. So that right now is all keeping me busy. I recorded a song with a buddy of mine, and that we're going to put out later this year, and recording some other music that we're going to be using for this one project. So
still doing your podcast every month?
And I've got my podcast that I do every month, which has just been growing. We're like at 90,000, 100,000 listeners now, which is great for something that is just a download, from iTunes, and just something awesome. You just go to the website and listen to. It's not sponsored by anybody. It's not on any radio network or anything. It's just Planet Paranormal. You just download it, so it's great to be getting those numbers with being out once a month.
Yep. What's the other website? Is it ghostshop.com that you're still having with Bill?
Ghostoutlet.com.
Ghost Outlet.
Don't say my competitor.
Okay. But
people
still.
All the time. No, it's ghostoutlet.com, and the outlet, I've got this character of the ghost.
Yeah.
But it's ghostoutlet.com. You can buy ghost hunting equipment. I got the best prices there, and I get some of the new stuff that comes out. And then ChristopherFleming1m.com.
Yep.
This is my website where you can check my appearances, listen to my podcasts, as well as I post articles on there once in a while. Plus, you can get to know some more stuff about me.
Yeah, exactly. And you posted a new Facebook page also for your podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and you can get to my Facebook there from my website as well. Unfortunately, I'm filled at 5,000 people, so my webmaster's going to create another page, I guess.
Exactly, Chris. So it was a pleasure to have you here tonight. And we could have gone on for another 2 hours. There's so many things, but
people's ears off.
yeah, and hopefully we can do it. Another time. Really looking forward to talk to you about so much more. Of what's going on in the paranormal field right now, and your take on some of the new shows and the new equipment. So, but thank you very much for your time. I know Steve. Very happy Steve was here too.
So probably we'll meet this summer somewhere.
Thanks everybody turning in, listening. I appreciate it for taking out your time tonight and doing that. It's I love speaking about my past and the things I'm working on. So I appreciate it.
Exactly. I'm going to send you the links to the podcast, and I'm going to post it on YouTube also, so people can either listen to it on YouTube or on Spreaker. So even though they can join us tonight live, some people will be able to listen to it whenever they want. So thank you very much, Chris, for your time. I really appreciate it, and thanks everybody who took time of their evening to listen to us tonight.
Absolutely. God bless everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris.
Bye, Chris.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.